So just YouTube.
Oh, now it works, I think. Yeah.
Okay, I think everybody, now that we'll wait a minute or two until we see some more people joining back in, right?
Yeah, what time do we have to let you go, Nifty?
It's working again, guys.
Yeah, let's try to do the full hour.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about the delay.
Let's try this again. Welcome to the NFTHypeSquadPodcast. The introduction will be done by Tori, so take it away.
Oh yeah, no, I already did it once. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining the second episode of the NFT Hype Squad podcast. We are super thrilled to have NiftyWhale on. If you don't know him, he is a massive collector in the space. And we are super thankful to have him on and super appreciative of everybody who just sat through all those technical difficulties. And yeah, so we're just going to get right into it. I think Ted, aka Terry, is going to be just updating all of us on some Hype Squad news, and then we'll just jump right in with Nifty.
No, I had the quick shout out for NFA as well, and the people who are in the chat. NFA has started the official Hype Squad blog over on Hive, and you can support that. I think I retweeted it and everything, but we'll make sure we get the links out. And that's on Peaked, and basically the blogging there will earn Hive for an account that will go to funding new artists getting onboarded onto NFT Showroom. So thank you, NFA, for running the new blog. And Terry.
Yeah. All right. Where was I? Yeah, the NFT Hype Squad is a shall do a small introduction. I'm T3D. Most folks here probably know me. We started a small Discord for a collective of artists to have a place for their own instead of going into shield threads. Me, Pom, and Pixelated World started that Discord. We're currently at around 304 people in our Discord and continue to grow and grow. And lately we've been starting community efforts as well. So we started a small little contest for 24 hours called the 24-Hour Monster Jam. That was the theme, monsters. So everyone was given 24 hours on their respective time zone to create a creation within that theme. And we can finally show the results. Yeah. So that's a mad amount of people with so much diverse styles and creations. That one will be up for auction later on as our community is moving forward to have a collective wallet. So in the future, our community can make bids on artworks, can list artworks as well that have been created within that community as a whole. And yeah, that's something I'm very excited to be moving forward with soon. And other than that, we're like Tori just mentioned, we're having a blog as well to update our, not really, what's the word again? About our updates as well from our community. And we keep on trying and seeing ways to improve our community as well and to try to interact with everyone as well. Another thing we have is the daily retweets, where we focus our entire Discord on one single person to promote engagement for that person. Doesn't matter if that person has 10 followers, 400 or 2,000. If you're chosen for the day, we'll promote the heck out of you. And yeah, that's currently what's happening for now. And I'll update you soon again with new news.
I can't stress enough, guys. If you're a new artist that is not part of the Hype Squad, join, because as you just heard from Terry, literally every day, new person. And even if you're a collector like myself, new art that you could potentially purchase that you would never see. It's such an inclusive group. So I encourage everybody to check out all the Hype Squad artists if you haven't and to join. But yeah, without further ado, should we just jump into talking with the whale himself?
One tiny thing I wanted to do for today, the hype person is Calico Cat. Check out their auction as well. It's at Ducks and Leaks on Twitter.
Yeah, and we should get
yes.
Nifty to introduce himself. Thank you for being with us, Nifty. Really appreciate it.
Hey, nice to be talking with you all. A quick introduction for those who aren't familiar with me. I believe I've done things with NFTHypeSquad before in the past, including the Collectors Conference, but just as a brief bio, and as a personal or like NFT space. So primarily most of my work has been, besides collecting, consulting and helping artists and other creators break into the space. How can they tell their story? How can they build a brand? How can they effectively share their work with the world? And also doing various case studies on projects within the space, what I think are good or bad about the execution of these various projects, generally trying to keep people informed, what are scams, what's good, what's bad. And then lately, I've been working on a really big project and initiative that we'll be talking about later, about bringing more mainstream attention within the NFT space, and then bringing the joy and love of collecting artwork into the world itself, as well as creating pop culture and media mainstream icons that will be able to bring everyone forward into the space together. And really looking forward to talking with you guys today. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. No, it's a pleasure to have you. We hadn't really decided on a formal sort of setup for how we were going to ask the questions and things. If you guys didn't want to start, I do have some community questions, both serious and not serious. But
yeah, I think starting off with the community questions would be good. So should we, I think. Okay,
great. Yeah, because we have some really important, very hard-hitting questions here. How do you feel about pineapple on pizza, Nifty?
Oh, I'm assuming this is one of the serious questions. I'm actually quite a big fan. I'm actually quite a big fan.
Oh, fantastic.
I think this is one of the things that are acquired tastes. Like if you didn't grow up with it, you probably hate it and find it despicable. But I think for me, especially since American pizza in particular, a lot of it is very greasy and salty. And just the acidity and sweetness of it tends to cut through a lot of the other combinations that you see within our culture. So it's a pretty good combination.
Don't hate me.
I'm so glad. I'm really glad to hear that. We've got a lot of pineapple on pizza lovers in the community. Yeah. But some people who will, some people will never speak to you ever again though for having that opinion. Yeah, and then one of the more serious questions is which platforms do you like strolling about, and does it make a difference for a collector if it's a curated platform, and what do you think about non-ETH platforms? So there's a few questions in there. If you want to tackle any of those.
So start with the first. What was the first one again? Sorry, I missed it.
Which oh, sorry, they've worded this straight away. I would be interested on which platforms you like. Do you like window shopping?
Platform? For myself and a lot of other collectors, it'll almost always be that you've either interacted with the artist in the past, or if they come across their social media or other body of work before making that purchase. But I keep up to date on most platforms. I think just for casual browsing, I'll always see what's going on OpenSea and Rarible. But for the other curated platforms, foundations, Maker's Place, I'll keep up to date on what sort of the stuff is going on there and what the discussion is revolving around in terms of the latest pieces that are selling. If a piece catches my eye, then I'll do more research into the artist and the drop that's happening and what's going on there. I think the second question was does curated platforms matter for collectors? It absolutely does. It's very much an individual thing, though. You'll come across collectors who are only interested in collecting on super rare, for example. There's quite a few of those, or some collectors who are only interested in Maker's Place. The advice that I'd give, or only foundation, the advice that I'd give for a lot of artists starting out is don't focus too much on platform. Focus on storytelling in your brand. Just go on OpenSea. The platform is not as important as under indicators of your success in the future. And then the final question was, what do you think about non-ETH-based platforms? I think the biggest one that people constantly ask me about is Hicket.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just discuss that. I think Hicket is great. I think it's a great kind of like artist playground for a lot of people to be able to explore without worrying too much about the scarcity that they feel they have to maintain on the ETH-based platforms, right? So I think just in general for these other non-ETH-based platforms, I think it's really great to explore. I definitely don't think there will just be one big NFT winner at the end of the day. It won't be just ETH. It'll be ETH and all these other cryptocurrencies, all these other platforms. So I'd really encourage artists and creators alike to just do what they like and do what they believe in and do a lot of research onto the platforms and blockchains that they are minting on. And don't worry too much about the current attention. If you are worried about attention, go with ETH, go with like the big platforms. But also, I'll really suggest just playing for the long game.
I just want to jump in here because I did have a question, just to kind of a follow up on that. So one was about like the specific sites like Super Rare. I hear artists that'll say, "Oh, like I've been waiting. I applied, blah blah blah." Do you still recommend trying to get, like, obviously some of them have like a negative and positive stigma to them. Do you still encourage to apply and get in as many as possible just so that you get as much exposure, or does that not really matter?
It definitely does matter.
Okay.
Being on as many platforms as possible, especially this early on in the space, can only be a good thing. If you have any particular reasons or objections to any particular platforms that you would want to avoid using them, it's not like a deal breaker as an artist or trying to be successful in the space, I would say. But if there isn't a reason for you to not be on a platform, why not try to get on it?
Sure,
Yeah.
I agreed. And the only other one, because you said about ETH. So a huge thing is like I see discussed all the time is scarcity, right? So obviously scarcity on ETH is a lot to do with just the fact that we haven't seen layer 2 or anything. So there's huge gas fees. But outside of that, like, do you believe that scarcity does matter? Forget ETH. I just thought that the fact that there is, because of gas and whatnot. Do you think that an artist limiting, I don't want to say limiting their work, but being mindful and keeping it scarce is something that is important to a collector? Or what are your thoughts?
It's a aspect that should be very deliberate and considered when putting out works. One of the most common mistakes I see is artists put out too much work and they put out everything. Ideally, you should only be minting your best works, or at the very least promoting your best works, period. A lot of the most successful artists that you see in the space only do a drop once or twice a month. If you're constantly putting out new work, then what incentive is there to pay a premium on the price? Like, there's going to be another one next week and next week and next week. And unless you're an artist that's able to constantly sell out their collection, you're not going to price it very high. You're going to price it very low. And so it kind of caps you as a creator on the sort of price you can ask for your artwork. Because if there's another one, and they aren't even selling and you're forced to lower your prices, then it's difficult for the value of your work to appreciate just from the market supply and demand equation. And the other thing is, it makes it impossible for collectors who have basically collected your artwork in the past to do anything on a secondhand marketplace. Why would they go to the secondhand marketplace and purchase from the secondhand marketplace when they can buy the latest and greatest work from the original artist directly? So I think both these ideas should be taken into consideration when you're thinking about scarcity. But again, like, if you look at the long game, and you see a bunch of really famous artists in the past, whether it's Michelangelo or Picasso or Da Vinci, and you look at how many you look at the range of artwork that they created throughout their career, some have it in the range of the tens of thousands, some have it in the range of hundreds, and they're all successful in their own right. So as an artist and just as a general discipline, the overall quantity and value of work might necessarily be correlated. But I would say right now, when you're building your brand, when you're trying to generate that demand in this highly saturated space, definitely take scarcity into account as part of your strategy.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that. That sounds awesome. I do have some more questions, so I thought I'd ask Terry if he's got anything specifically. But I'm also keen to hear about your project as well. Rod just sort of was hinting around that you maybe had something you wanted to discuss about what you're working on.
Yeah, I have a question, sort of. Lately, with ETH going down and gas prices going down currently as well, I see a lot more artists like spending the ETH that they earned instead of like trading that for like a fiat. And so I see a lot more artists slowly turning into small collectors as well. Like Pom is doing it. I'm trying to do it more and more as well. And how do you feel about that as well? Like, I think it's personally a very good thing to support artists buying from other artists as well. But sometimes it could be that other artists would keep their prices lower because of that entire reason.
So I'm trying to find the question in there. So is the question, do you think it's a good thing that artists are buying from other artists, or?
Yeah, and that they would keep their prices lower for that exact reason.
So you're saying that artists are keeping the prices lower to make it more appealing for other artists to buy their work?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my answer to that, Tad, would be you shouldn't, or people shouldn't make the distinction of a collector is buying my work or an artist is buying my work. They're all collectors and they're all supporters of your work. So there's no reason to necessarily make that distinction. So if you're lowering your prices just so your buddies can buy your work, you shouldn't just view it through that lens. You should view it through the overall community and support behind your work, purchasing your work, right? So with ETH going down, I can understand the temptation to like, hey, let's make my prices as low as possible so I can just, try to sell my work as quickly as possible. But if you're playing the long game and if you're trying to, build your brand, build your like the significance of your work within the space, I would think more in terms of overall strategy than responding to short-term swings within the market. And adding on to that, I would say, when you're starting out, it happens in every single industry and every single startup or every single company. Your early supporters are going to be your friends and family and people that you interact very closely with. And there's nothing wrong with that. And, even if you're a company who's building a new product, the people that you're going to sell to might be your mom and dad, right? If it's your first product. It doesn't change much for artists within the community. So treat them as you would treat anyone else and be thankful for the initial sales that you get, and then really reinvest your sales, not just into yourself, but the people around you, and build the community up around you. And they will be there to support you when you need help is what I would say. And focus on community and brand building over monetary value in the short term. And I think it'll pay a lot of dividends in the long run.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like having maybe if people want to do like a smaller series on Hen, or like a smaller series on a different platform, that's a great way to expand their portfolio sort of as well, I think. Mm-hmm. Like I have a small series on Rarible that are more affordable than my one-of-ones because those are collectibles. And yeah, I think it's a great idea that people collect more from other people as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Johannes, you gotta support your squad,
Yeah.
Well, I totally get the temptation to lower stuff for, lower prices for other artists and things, because sometimes you do look around and you say, well, the people who are buying my work are my friends. And, I see a lot of people talking, and we have a sort of a support channel in the Hype Squad Discord for talking about all sorts of things that are bothering us. And a lot of the time the thing comes up is, oh, well, a collector's never going to find me, and we think it's just other artists and they don't have much, expendable income. So I have to make this something that they can afford. And that way I at least get a little bit of support, because I've lost hope in selling for more,
Mm-hmm.
So I totally sympathize with artists who do feel like lowering their prices all the time. I'm one of the people who does that, so it's a habit I need to get out of. But it definitely it happens.
It's sometimes hard, right? Like the space is in waves right now, right? Sometimes it's super bullish, and sometimes, like right now, it can be bear. So sometimes it's natural to be like, well, did I did I price that too high? And what I would say to you guys, everybody, is never shortchange yourself and undervalue yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, we are all so early relative to just where the space is at, and just in general, like, you are worth every single penny that you guys place your art at. So don't try and take away from that, because at the end of the day, like, I think you're just, you're discounting yourself, and somebody else is going to make more money off of you because you guys are all amazing. So, like, why not capture as much as you're worth as possible? But I had a couple questions for you before we got into your project, Nifty, but just you said you've been collecting since November. How'd you get into the space? Like, what was the first like piece that really, caught your eye? And were you in crypto before this, or how'd you come about NFTs?
Yeah, so I've been in crypto since 2014, but I was not keeping up too closely with the space as of late. I was mainly like hodling or whatever. And of course, the appreciation of crypto definitely caught the notice of a lot of people. But I just think in general, people even outside of space, just in tech or in other adjacent fields to crypto and the art space, we're starting to realize that there was something going on of the space that was significant, that is different from what a lot of people in the mainstream think of when they think of crypto, which is just as an alternative store of value that is decentralized, right? So I got into the space knowing about the biggest projects, as many people do, with the CryptoPunks, with the Beeples and the NBA Top Shot coming in later, a lot of really high visibility NFT projects. And then you go deeper down the rabbit hole, right? You discover this whole community, you develop and learn about this whole ecosystem around artists finally being able to make a living and earn royalties for life on their work. And I thought it was really beautiful and a lot of potential in what was happening, but the community needed a lot of guidance in terms of how to safely grow this community without creating this huge speculative bubble. A lot of artists were selling directly to collectors for the first time. How do you do that? As you're operating kind of as like this independent artist, is also not just your art, but you're developing a personal business. And it's a huge learning curve, right, to build a business. And what is the best way to do that? How do you build your brand? How do you reach out to as many people as possible? And what sort of steps do you need to take to be able to, support yourself in the short term while you're gaining wider recognition for your work in the long game? So how do you do that? Is a lot of the questions that I've been helped answering within artists in the community that are constantly reaching out to me for guidance in those aspects. So that is sort of how I got into space, how I developed, and what my efforts have sort of been focused on in the last 1 or 2 months.
Very cool. So are you an NBA Top Shot?
I am.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, naturally, I'm wearing a Sixers hat. I mean, my team's playing today. Clearly, I'm an NBA Top Shot. I mean, I was in it before, but NBA Top Shot is obviously my jam. No pun intended. Cool. Well, and then what was do you remember your first NFT or piece of art that you did collect, that you purchased? What was it? Out of curiosity?
Yeah, of course. It was a CryptoPunk. I can't tell you
amazing.
the specific serial number since it would identify me, but because I started
No,
off
you're good.
It started off in like an individual capacity. So like I've bought Beeples, I've bought CryptoPunks, and that's under like my personal identity as opposed to like under NiftyWhale.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All good.
Very
You
nice.
don't need to dock yourself. But very cool. So we talked about the Punks comic on our first podcast or stream, I should say. Did you what were you, I'm just curious what your thoughts are, just since you said Punks. Did you like the Punks comic? Did you check it out at all?
I checked out the project, and I scrolled about on the website and some social media buzz I was hearing about it on Twitter, but I didn't look at the comic specifically for the CryptoPunks comic.
All good. Just curious. Anyways, I definitely want to get into your project. So, I mean, and some more community questions. Tori, were there any other community questions that we wanted to ask Nifty before we get into his project?
No, I really want to hear about the project. Yeah, we have I can sort of pick and choose from my questions too, because if I ask all of these, we might be here for like 3 hours. So, Nifty, please tell us about the project. Keen to hear.
Yeah. So first, I'll briefly describe what I'm seeing within the space, and you guys can tell me if you agree or not. So, there's the old adage, right? Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man how to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime, right? So, tying this back to the NFT space, how I see this is if you're buying work from an artist, you're basically giving the man the fish, and you're feeding them for a day. If you buy from them over and over and become a very supportive collector who is supporting this one specific artist, then maybe you feed him every day. And I see teaching a man to fish as showing these creators how to build their brand, how to reach out to these collectors, how to be developing their identity and becoming really prominent in the space so that their works are able to basically sell themselves. Like some artists, they basically don't need to really tweet about or talk about their work as much anymore, because as soon as they mint something, as soon as they put it up for sale, it's sold out within minutes, right? So I see that as you feeding them for a lifetime. So the current problem that I'm seeing is you can teach these artists to build their business and make a lot of waves and do all the things that they need to do as well as possible. But the fact of the matter is, if there's not enough demand, and if there's not enough collectors in the space, then it's like you're throwing basically thousands of fishing rods or lures into a pool where there's only like 5 or 10 fish, right? It's really, really difficult. So my project and what that's revolving around is putting more fish into the ocean itself, right? So what can we do to get more mainstream attention? What can we do to get more collectors into the space? What needs to happen in my eyes is it needs to be a common thing. It needs to be a cool thing. It needs to be a very easy to understand thing for new collectors to come into the space. Everyone's owning an NFT. Everyone's owning a piece of artwork. And it's very commonplace, and everyone has even a physical representation of an NFT piece that's just hanging in their living room or kitchen. And if that becomes the future that we're striving towards, a world where it's so common for these people just to be collecting work, then suddenly the market becomes the entire world and not just the select few who are really early in the crypto space. And that is sort of what I'm trying to build and work towards. So I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, sounds like the thing to do, but how do you even approach something like that? I've seen a couple of small ideas, like Ken Bozak is doing bubblegum NFTs, so putting like gumball machines where you get a capsule and it'll have a random NFT in it that you scan the code for. And there's little sort of gimmicky fun things sort of going on. I have plans to put physical art out into the world that has NFTs attached, but what's your approach to that? It seems like a huge hurdle, a huge mountain to climb.
Yeah, so people might have seen me tweeting recently about, getting small clues about the project I'm working on. I recently tweeted that I'm looking for 2D character artists to work with me on something to develop, to work on this top secret project or whatever. But I think what is really needed is a really identifiable intellectual property or really identifiable characters that are native to the blockchain space that serves as a pop culture icon and a gateway for people to start collecting and learning more about the space. So let me explain. So imagine if Walt Disney, for example, created Mickey Mouse today, and this was something that was created on the blockchain, right? So as you sort of had these NFT tokens relating to Mickey Mouse or all of the characters in and around that universe, and at the same time, you were building more mainstream recognition through the shows and episodes that they're producing, animation that you're producing for Mickey Mouse. So then people would start to get interested in what is this character, what is the background of this character, where is it coming from? Oh, and people who recognize this character early and people who are supporting the development of this character early, they're able to buy in and get royalties off this character through this thing called NFTs. That's really crazy. So I think that is the approach that we want to take for this project and getting into the space. And then tying that even further, right? So if you are able to take the sort of intellectual property and integrate it into pop culture through high fashion or through these big conferences where there are really large number of prominent people invested, then the character becomes more so about the representation of the character itself, but the entire community behind it and the technology that is possible behind everything that we are creating today, right? So with the current projects in the space, I don't find that essence there of the community. I don't find the essence there of what we are creating and the artists and the creators that are able to suddenly make a living off these royalties. I'm not really seeing that. So what I am seeing is, for example, NBA Top Shot, which I love, which I buy into, but you can't really say anything about the creators and artists who are trying to make a living for the first time, living off royalties off their work forever. You can look at CryptoPunks and you can see the super high price tags of hundreds of thousands of dollars on these. And this is a project I also really love and support that I've bought into. But you don't see that either. Like you see Larva Labs being able to be very successful off it. You see the CryptoPunks community being rallying together around it and being able to kind of celebrate what blockchain has been able to accomplish through this project. But again, you're not seeing the smaller creators. You're not seeing what it means in terms of intellectual property for all of these people creating their work for the first time. So I think what the space really needs right now to get into to capture the attention of a lot of people is kind of like this original content, intellectual property icons that is easily understandable, that people will get. And at the same time, people within the community will be able to benefit from by being able to get the early NFTs of this project that will appreciate massively over time, is the general approach that I'm thinking about. And I'd actually really love to work with NFTHypeSquad to hash out this idea further. And then I'll be able to take care of the execution strategy of how do you get into these super large magazine publications? How do you get onto these really big TV programs? How do we create these fashion, basically like icons and waves such that we are going to be on the red carpet and everyone is going to have eyes on that? I want to help the community do that, and I want to have the artistic power powered by NFTHypeSquad and other people within the space currently, so we can help execute that and get more eyes on the really big projects that are happening within the space.
Yeah,
Sounds very good.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Because I guess there's lots of projects, lots of really cool projects at the moment, but they don't get seen by mainstream. Anybody who's not in NFTs already.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. If you want to use me as the character, just draw me and to be the person. You have full authority.
I was thinking a cat. Yeah, it has to be a cat or something, surely.
I'm just.
But
kidding.
I was also.
JK.
It also made me think of just in terms of like an intellectual property that benefits artists and stuff. Because it's interesting you talk about CryptoPunks and sort of doesn't really have that. Things like Artvatars and things where the proceeds all get split like 100 ways or 65 ways or whatever to all of these different artists that contributed. I think projects like that are really cool. Collabs in general are really cool, and there seems to be so much of that going on in the space. So but it's an amazing idea. I'm keen to follow it, see where it goes.
So to follow up on that, in your profile it says I'm spending $10 million in 2021. Is that what this is for, or is that totally separate? Or So
I think a large chunk of that $10 million will probably go through this project. I think it's all about the multiplicative impact, right? So if the highest amount of impact I could have was buying $10 million directly off a small artist, then that is something I would do. But if the highest impact I could have is through creating some other big project, which can also benefit a lot of people in terms of attention, also them financially being able to take part in this project really early, then that would be the preferred approach. One thing that I'm constantly seeing is there are many very well-loved collectors within the community who purchase a lot of NFTs. And as I say that, probably a bunch of names will probably pop into your guys' heads. But one thing you'll observe is it's hard to point out specific pieces in their collection. And they're such prolific collectors that each purchase that they have, it benefits the artist directly, sure, and that's really great. But as an overall community and as in terms of bringing the right sort of attention or to grow the community in terms of demand, is not really doing that. Is what I'm observing. Like what I want us to rally behind, and what I want us to work towards, is the idea of the new age renaissance, the digital renaissance, where there is a huge boom of artwork and people being able to live off their art, and society at large celebrating artwork and creativity in general through being able to collect these works and celebrate these artists. And if there is enough good attention on space, and if there is enough demand on the space, then there is no reason why this shouldn't become a really big popular movement in the form of a digital renaissance. So imagine a world where the art market within the NFT space is so liquid and collecting artwork is so common that if you're able to collect an artwork, you're able to sell it at a later date relatively easily, assuming that it is one of like the more popular artists, or not even that popular, but has a supportive community behind them. Then in that case, and you're able to say have some sort of digital picture frame, for example, that you're able to display such NFTs in your living room or kitchen, and this artwork is going to appreciate 10 or 20% within the next few years. Why would you not buy that work? Why would you not buy that work instead of, for example, opening a savings account and having 10, 20K just sitting in your savings account? Why not enjoy that artwork for that period of time and have the confidence that, hey, like when I need this capital, like I need to pay off student loans, I need to buy a new car, I need to support the people around me. And I know that I'll have enjoyed that artwork for the period of time, and I'll be able to sell it back to the market, back to the supportive community within this digital renaissance, and be confident that this is something that I'll be able to accomplish. Now, with the economics behind it all, with the power of creativity behind it all, with everything that we're able to achieve today, this is a vision and future that we should be able to live in, and that is possible for us today. And it's really up to the community on how strongly they resonate with this vision and how badly do we want this to happen, right? And I see a lot of great projects happening. For example, I like what's happening with Bored Apes. I like that the price point for getting into this project earlier was very accessible to many people. I like the community that is being built behind Bored Apes, and I like that the approach that they're taking to basically generate buzz around these characters in real life, so people recognize like what are these characters, and then once people start wondering what is a Bored Ape, why am I seeing this everywhere, then maybe people will start to get more interested in the crypto space. So I think we are sort of heading into that mode of digital renaissance, but I'm going to be honest, our timing here is kind of narrow because the impact that NFTs can have in terms of the tech and what they're able to accomplish, I think there's a very strong possibility that a lot of that will overshadow what could happen with the digital renaissance if you don't act fast. So that's why I'm spending most of my efforts around this project and building this community lately and within the next few months or so to basically try to make this future a reality for everyone within the space.
Amazing. Well, you've got lots of supporters here. I'm all in. And I can see Tyler, Six Dude, Calico, Papa Bearded, Paul, NFA, all saying, yeah, they're in the chat. So I'm sure you'll have enthusiastic artists all throughout the scene saying, yeah, let's do it. We're all in. So it sounds great.
Yeah, sounds like an amazing project. That also comes to my next question as well. One of the most beautiful things about NFTs is the royalties and being able to receive funds on a longer time frame instead of just one sale. Do you resell the pieces that you collect? And how would you promote people to reselling the things that they buy? Because I see a lot of collectors buying like thousands and thousands of pieces, for example, but they sit there like in sort of a storage scene and they don't move those. So I'm curious, how is your vision on that? And do you think like reselling at the moment is a good thing that people do, or should they hold on to pieces?
So I think it's a spectrum. So the spectrum is there are people who only got into the NFT space for the money aspect, and they're interested in collectibles, such as CryptoPunks, and projects that sort of center around that. And there are people who got into space for the art, and they stay for the art, and they want to hold those art pieces, and they stay for that. To be honest, some of the problem that I also see stems from the art community in general, where they see these two different groups and they see the pattern of behaviors, and the pattern of behavior of selling an artwork on the secondhand marketplace falls into the first group that I described, for people that got into the space for the purpose of selling money. And a lot of artists don't like that because, hey, I want you to be in here because you like my work, not because you want to make money, which I totally understand. But what I want to tell people is your interests are aligned for both collector and the artist. The artist interests are aligned because they're able to make money from that secondary sale. The collector's interests are aligned because they're able to make a profit from that sale, and they get their initial investment back such that they're able to support the artist's latest work or reinvest it, or even buy art from someone else in the community. And whoever bought it from the secondhand marketplace that weren't quite early enough to get that early work from the artist, they also benefit because they're able to collect that work that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do, right? And so I think the more we can get into this model of, hey, it's not one or the other, whether you're in the space for the money or whether you're in the space for the art, everyone can benefit. I think that'll go a long way and change people's perceptions of, oh, I'm able to collect this work and I will be able to sell this work later without, without having fear of like getting quote canceled, or without having fear of being accused of being in the space only for the money. I think it's a concern that a lot of people have when they even consider selling their works. For me, like I personally also have sold works that are more on the collectible side. I tend to sell less works on the art side for that specific reason, but also because like for the artwork itself, I tend to have more of a connection to it than these collectibles here and there, which a lot of people tend to flip. I would really encourage people to study the space more, because there are groups of people that are only in it for the flipping, for making money. And people who are really good at this have generated 6-7 figures in income from flipping just these NFTs from these collectibles. So there's a whole different world out there separate from just this art community. And I think the more that people learn and see what's going on, they'll be able to kind of tailor within the vision for the future and what they want their NFT line to basically look like.
Yeah, I always tell people as well, like, you can do whatever with my artwork. If you want to buy it to resell it, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think Indra does a very good job at that as well. It's like announcing to people, like, you can, if you buy an artwork of mine, feel free to do whatever with it, what you want. If you want to resell it, want to flip it, it's all fine. Just don't sell it as lower as that you bought it, because that would hurt your ground floor as well. But yeah, I think both situations align. Like, people get a profit from it if they resell it. That goes into the art.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, are we back on?
Can't tell.
Yeah, it works.
We're live. Can you guys see us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can see us.
Hello. Okay, great. So yeah, I was just talking about sort of a secondary sale, sort of making some sort of community event around that, but we'll talk more about that at another time when we have more plans in place. Nifty. So was there any other specifics? Did you want to tell us anything more about that project? You've covered covered a lot.
So Tori, I'll briefly describe what you're talking about, and I'll go more into this in detail. So the issue is, which I hit on all the time, the search and discover functionality on most marketplaces is really, really horrible. And so generally the only way that you'll be able to basically get recognition, right, and be able to sell your work is mainly through social media channels, and developing that tight-knit community around you is where you'll be able to make most of your sales. So basically what happens is, once a collector collects one of your bodies of work, it goes into a vault, as you say. And if they are really, even if they're a really prominent collector, which is something that most artists would be really stoked, really happy about, the issue is their collection is so big, and it's impossible to find any one individual piece of work. And also, they aren't constantly showing individual pieces in their collection, right? So the chances of you being able to resell this is pretty much zero, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're on OpenSea or Rarible, once you've sold that piece, it's not really on your profile. So that piece is just gone forever and unlikely to ever make a secondary sale.
Yeah,
I
true.
think this is what the curated platforms right now do really well. Because if you're on Maker's Place or Foundation or Super Rare, you have a profile of a very limited kind of curated set of works you've created in the past, and it links directly to the collector who is currently owning that piece, right? Mm-hmm. So to the secondary buyer or new collector that's interested in collecting your work, it really makes no difference whether you're selling it directly or whether it's in another collector's collection. It really makes no difference. They're able to go and find that work and be able to offer a price for that piece. And so as Sneaker Dad was selling earlier, and how Beanie's been so successful flipping all of these pieces, I haven't looked into Beanie's flips specifically, but I can bet you that it's probably on one of these more curated platforms, right? The flipping process becomes much easier. Now, there are a few ways to circumvent this, which is through creating your own brand, having your own website, developing a strong community, doing all that. And by that point, ideally, you were able to go onto these curated sites to begin with. So it's easy for that to happen. But it's also, it hits on the idea of scarcity that we talked about before, where if the body of your works is scarce, then it's really easy to point to this work A, B, and C and saying, oh, like you have all these secondary marketplace opportunities that are in this collector's collection or that collector's collection. So you can point to and say, hey, if you want this piece, you can direct them there, as opposed to if you're minting hundreds and dozens of pieces all the time, then it's really difficult for you to do that. And it's really unlikely that you'll be getting any secondary sales.
For sure.
Very true.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm one of these artists who's been quite sort of skeptical of the curated sites and very skeptical of Foundation. I only recently finally accepted an invite to it after sort of resisting it for a couple of months. And I was just pretty much bad-mouthing it up until a few weeks ago for the horrendous fees and everything. But I can definitely see I've slowly learned why it works and what it actually does for artists. And the format is really good. And sometimes there's certain things about OpenSea that just aren't working especially for secondary sales.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Oh, sorry. Go Nifty.
I was just going to briefly respond that, there are a lot of things that the bigger curated platforms are doing wrong. But I think instead of like viewing the platform as an entity and the sort of like rules that they have in place, if you look at the end customer perspective or the collector's perspective, I think it sort of starts to make sense, like why certain things are working, why certain things aren't. I actually prefer the way that OpenSea is going, because as supply grows and as demand, so as supply grows, the kind of model for these curated marketplaces will become less and less ideal. It'll become like the quality and user experience will dilute over time. I think what we want to go towards is a model like OpenSea, where search and functionality are good. They have the engineers hired in place to basically have algorithms that promote the style of work that collectors have collected in the past. So the platform is showing them artwork that they're likely to also like, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that these platforms can do to basically be promoting artists, be basically showing these ideal works, and also even show metrics to basically confirm to the collector and give them confidence that, for example, they'll be able to resell this within a certain amount of time on average. And there's a lot of features and a lot of basically quality of life improvements that'll make the user experience really great for newer collectors that are absolutely necessary for these smaller platforms to flourish. And it personally makes me kind of frustrated to see what's happening there, and would make me want to work in an advisor capacity with a lot of these bigger platforms, because I can see all the things that they're doing wrong that would not take too much effort to have a lot of huge impact and benefit for their return on investment. And so That's so I don't want to. So I don't want my stance to be these curated platforms are good. Here's why it's good. Here's why you should get on it. I just want to more point out and say here are the things that they're doing well, and here's also a list and note of things that the other non-curated platforms could also do to basically provide a really great experience. And it doesn't really have to be this way.
Yeah. I agree. One thing I like about Foundation, mostly as well as the community behind it, because they give a weekly heads up what they're going to implement soon, what they're going to change. They answer questions from the community as well. And that really gives me a good feeling about moving forward with such a platform, because they give a lot of insight on what they're doing and what they're planning to do and what the community wants as well.
You can choose not to answer this, but assuming, let's just say for new artists, like not new, but new to the NFT space, right? Again, I know it's not cookie cutter, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but obviously there's these curated sites and then there's OpenSea and some others, but would you recommend like starting on one? I mean, obviously, and I know it's such a subjective question, but just based on what you've been discussing, is there one that kind of sticks out? Like maybe it's OpenSea, right? But if you're just starting out, you're brand new, and you want to release your first project, where should you be looking?
I think your journey really depends on kind of the vision that you have for yourself in the space, but I'll try to provide like a cookie cutter, like step-by-step approach for anyone that might be listening in the future. So in the beginning, momentum and community is really important. So I would say put out a lot of your work on various sites, whether it's Instagram or Twitter, to basically just put out your portfolio and say like, hey, this is who I am. This is the type of work I do. And just talk to a lot of people within the space, learn as much as you can, get involved as many projects as you can, whether it's directly or adjacently, and just make yourself, so just really like get embedded in the space, right? So like if you're in a new town, you're not going to just invite everyone to a dinner party and hope people show up, right? You're a new person, so people aren't going to be as willing. So you're going to come out to like the community events in your local community. You're going to meet some new people. You're going to go to their sort of parties and basically get to know people over their sort of events. And then you'll start hosting your own events and inviting people to your own dinner parties, right? So even in the NFT space, the same logic kind of applies whenever you are joining a new community and you're perceived as an outsider in the beginning. You want to become embedded in the community. And then the next step I would suggest is get on sites that are easier to get onto, such as OpenSea or Rarible, and get a few initial sales for the best works that you have. And what happens all the time actually is a lot of these collectors do have an eye for talent, right? So even if you sell one of your early works at a very low price and they really like your work, they will absolutely be looking to flip that work. Secondhand marketplace is very important for getting a lot of traction and getting attention for your work. So really easily accessible, large platforms, put out your best work, get a few early sales for your work. Now, as you sort of start to develop your early following at the beginning, the other thing that's really important is saying, I'm here to stay. Because even for really successful artists that have 6-7 figures in sales, some people say, okay, thanks for the money, and they kind of leave the space, right? And like, hey, I've made my money, good luck. And what actually ends up happening is for the really big collectors that have spent a lot of money on them, their work actually ends up depreciating because they left the space. They've made a statement that's saying, hey, I actually don't care about this anymore. Good luck holding the bag, right? So what's really important at this stage is to basically make it known, like here, I'm in it for the long run. I'm continually showing that I'm interacting with the community. I'm continually showing that I have this sort of roadmap and plan that I'm going to continue to be producing works is really important. And so as you start to do this like really like methodical drops, really well thought out, and you start to get more traction, then you can start to look into these other kind of big curated platforms and targeting collectors that have been known to be flipping works and have known to be maintaining very like tight collections, as opposed to like buying like billions of small things from here and there. And then establishing your brand that way is probably like the cookie cutter like game plan approach that a lot of artists should be looking to basically be executing as they make their way into the community. And I think that this should serve a lot of people well in terms of like a basic roadmap and plan of what they sort of want to be able to be doing. But if they have some other grand vision of, oh, I want my own custom contracts, I want to develop my own IP for the long term, then they can go ahead and do that. And what I said won't really apply to them. But I think this should be like the pretty good generalized approach.
Yeah, thank you. And Indra even said she has a roadmap for this year, and I mean, you outlined a pretty good roadmap to start, but I think that word and term roadmap is a huge thing in this space. Like, have one, right? Like, whatever it is, but like to plan it out, because I think, at least from your perspective and a lot of collectors, they want to know that you're going to be here for a long time. So having those things planned out gets them excited and to know like there's other stuff coming. So
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Tori, do you have a question?
I did. Yeah, just one that I really wanted to get in from the community. I'm very aware of our time since we started a bit later, but somebody asked, NiftyWhale, can you be more specific as to the character designers you are looking to connect with? So I assume that's to do with something you must have tweeted about your project.
Yeah, I instantly replied with 3D artists, and then saw your tweet after, like, only looking for 2D artists.
Yeah. So currently, but I think at the end of the day, like we will need 3D artists, we'll need animators, we'll need this and that. But I think right now I'm specifically looking for 2D artists. So think of like really iconic brands, or think of really iconic characters you can recognize in this space. Like if you like Mickey Mouse, Hello Kitty, like Comme des Garçons with their very iconic hard eyes, right? Really bold 2D characters is what I'm what I'm looking for. I am willing to hash this out more with members of the community. This is an idea that I want to bounce around with NFTHypeSquad, but basically, since the idea behind the characters and the movement and the future that we're envisioning and trying to create for everyone, not just ourselves, is the idea of like a digital renaissance, right? So to that end, I think what would be really great is, so here are basically the requirements. So requirement number one, they need to be very recognizable, iconic, bold, desirable characters. I think a model that has worked well again and again throughout time is these kind of like cute animal characters that have some sort of story behind them that represent something. I think that would be a really great place to start. So that's an idea I want to explore. I also want the story of these characters to kind of represent a lot of the people within the space. Because again, it's not so much about these characters and recognizability, it's about the story and the movement that it represents. So I think it'd be really cool if these characters represented artists within the space. I think it'd be really cool if these characters represented the idea of a renaissance. So imagine in kind of like Ninja Turtle-esque fashion, if the characters were named Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Verrocchio, and etc. And they all Van Gogh, etc. Right? And these names are people that are really already familiar with, and I think people in the mainstream would take notice and saying, "Hey, what are these characters that are really cute, really recognizable?" We're starting to see these cute characters collab with all of these really high fashion, really desirable brands. We're starting to see these crazy animations coming out from them. We're starting to see these correct characters and all these other sorts of pop culture icons. So what are the story behind these characters? Why are they representing these pop culture icons? What if this NFT movement? What is crypto? What is all of these ideas and technology that are powering? What is the community behind these characters? Is what I think would start to bring a lot of attention to the space, a lot of demand, and kind of kick off what we're envisioning in the digital renaissance. And I think people will start to buy into this project, will start to purchase these NFTs. And I think it'll serve as kind of like the gateway for these newer collectors coming into space, and also starting collecting for other artists in the space and collecting the ideas and people who helped create these characters, and what everything that this project sort of represents will get a lot of eyes on the space is what I want to start moving towards. So I think I've spent more time talking about the idea behind it and what it represents more than the characters itself, because I think it's what's most important. But again, I'd love to hash out these sorts of ideas and characters with everyone in the community, get a lot of input, and make it really, really collaborative. Because at the end of the day, it's not for me; it's really for everyone else. And so,
I'm sorry, I love that comment. The Van Gogher,
comment.
Van Gogher,
Andy
and
Warthog.
Andy Warthog. Yeah, that's a great start.
Those are awesome. I kind of thought of like the Zed Run character or like classes, the horses, because it was like a Buterin, a Zabo, a Nakamoto, but they're all, I mean, those are more crypto, but that was like when you started saying those things, it kind of made me think of that and the Ninja Turtles. But for art purposes, I mean, Kay might be onto something. I don't know. Van Gogher and Andy Warthog sound
Kay's made a really strong start. Yeah. This also might go into one of the community questions, because Nifty, surely there has to be a little whale character. And the community question was, what variety of whale are you?
What variety of whale am I? So I think, okay, so here's a secret that I've never told anyone. So typically when I start like a company or a brand, right, I'll hire designers, I'll have people do all these things for me. But since NiftyWhale in general is a very personal project for me, I've done everything, right? So normally I'd hire people for PR, I'll do this, and I've done everything. I've written every article.
Because you have an art background. Yeah.
Right. I've made every tweet. I've done all of the designs. So the NiftyWhale icon was actually designed in PowerPoint because I was a traditional artist. I never got into digital art, right? I created every single thing that you're seeing on PowerPoint.
Oh, brilliant!
Right.
That's
I think this is a blue whale. This is clip art, by the way. I think this is clip art of a blue whale.
Well, blue whale's great because blue whale's the grandest of all whales, so I think that's really fitting.
Some sort of blue whale humpback kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to get you on for an interview sometime and just ask you more about your art background, actually. And at this point in your life, do you still practice your acrylic painting, or are you hoping to, put more time into your own art?
I do. I mean, building businesses, working at my full-time, investing, advising all these people, it's very like time consuming. And obviously like, you have to also balance that with friends and family. And I also have NiftyWhale and also have this new project that's going on. It can be really hard to find time for art, but I still do from time to time. I'll revisit every couple months. I have these huge unfinished canvases just sitting in my bedroom, in my living room that I really want to get back to finishing. I'm still very much in love with acrylics, although I've explored a variety of other mediums. I really loved charcoal while during my studies, and I spent a large part of my childhood, since I was very, very young, I basically just lived in an art studio, right? So it's very much a part of my life, and the whole technology thing came later, and the whole business building thing came later. But I always imagined myself working at the intersection of art and technology. And when I started to see the stuff that was happening with the crypto space and NFTs and art on the blockchain, I knew this was it. And I knew this is something I wanted to get deeply involved in the future. And the direction I want to head with this project is to generate so much success and revenue such that I can start to scale back on some of the current projects I'm involved in technology and investing, and start investing more and more time into the community. And then I'll be able to leverage my full talents, my full time, my full network and connections and everything that I have into really building something really, really big that is the digital renaissance, essentially. And so, I'd love to spend more time doing art in general, and also with spending more time involved in really big projects within the community. I think it'd be really great.
Great. I look forward to seeing your paintings one day.
Sure.
When you don't have a million other things going on.
A painting edition of one of those characters for your project, that would be fun as well to see.
Totally. That would be really cool.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah.
From the man himself, the Genesis. Any final thoughts, Nifty? You want to leave us with a final thought before we let you go?
Yeah, so I'm going to be, so although like a lot of people start to see me in getting involved in this project, I don't want to see people being afraid to reach out because they think I'm too busy. I do get hundreds of DMs and emails a day, basically for consulting purposes, or like, how should I do this? What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on my strategy here? What do you think about this artwork? I try to respond to as many as possible, although it can be very, very difficult at times. Of course, like people offer me things for free all the time, or people offer me money and etc. This is definitely like a passion project for the community, so please don't feel compelled to basically like offer me money or free things. I have said no and declined every single time. And lastly, I really want this project to be for the community that's very, very collaborative. So if you have any ideas, if you want to help me set up a space to basically hash out this project, if you have character ideas in mind, if you have anything that you think would help basically drive this project forward, then definitely reach out to me and then we'll talk it out.
Yeah, we could make a small space in our Discord as well for people who have ideas, maybe to make a separate channel for people to suggest things.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Open to anything.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you for having us. Or otherwise, thank you for being here.
Thanks for joining the stream.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a ton of messages now with people giving you ideas. I'm going to say at least 20 since the stream started, but that's going to be my bet. But thank you.
And we've gone about 35 minutes over the hour, but I'm still keen to stick around and do our little segments that we had planned to talk about. And you're welcome to stick around if you like, Nifty, but community things. And I'm very aware that we should probably let you go. But thank you so much for your time. Very generous of you to stay longer because of our technical difficulties. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Love what you guys are doing here. I have to run, unfortunately, but good luck with the rest of the stream.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we move on to Spence's segments, then Tori's segments, and then
we'll keep this brief. That was a really awesome stream. Hopefully it's insightful for everyone in here and anybody else that's going to be listening or watching this after the fact. I think there was a lot of good information, especially for artists that are just getting started. I'm just going to do a basic rundown of what's going on, every week or whenever we do our stream. I'd like to kind of just share projects, artists, and things going on in the space. I'll try and keep it as abridged as possible just because of timing today. Since we last spoke, the marketplace has gone to the toilet, as you all have seen. Everything is down in terms of crypto. So obviously, maybe people are holding their money or not willing to spend. Just based on what I've seen, it's a lot of it's just regulatory stuff. So I would just say, as a bullish person in the crypto and in the marketplace in general for NFTs, keep doing what you're doing. People still want to buy, and people are, I think, overall it's going to bounce back, but there's too much going with this. And I really don't think that this is considered a bubble, as I'm sure all of you guys would agree with. The one project that I kind of wanted to highlight, which actually NiftyWhale kind of mentioned as well, and I'll share my screen for you guys. Oh no, what did I do? Sorry. Technical difficulty still. I'll share my screen with you guys, but it was the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So I thought it was a cool project. You all probably heard about it. I don't know if you guys can see my screen yet.
No, we can.
You can?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I'm on a Medium page right now. Basically, though, what I thought was really cool, Bored Ape Yacht Club, they are actually doing a community grant similar to the Hash Masks, but I think better. They've been very inclusive. This is like the very communal, one of the coolest communities outside of the Hype Squad that I've been a part of. And right now they're offering $3,000 basically to anybody interested in literally, doing any kind of project. And it goes through, what is it, where to email, and the deadline's not till June 14th. So there's still a ton of time. And, I think it's cool, the fact that, I've seen people who want to do beers, who want to do movies. I mean, there's so many different things that people want to do, shoes, whatever it is. But but I think it's giving creative license to anybody and everybody that wants to be a part of the community. They're doing a whole lot more. So I definitely don't want to just discuss that, but I thought what was also cool was on their Twitter. If you are, and this is just an example for anybody that's, looking for different ideas, but they're actually doing an entire line of stuff. It says, their merch store opens up on the 29th. So if you own an ape, you can buy merch. Will I be buying it? Well, I don't know. That's if my wife lets me. We'll see. But I think it's pretty cool, giving exclusivity. You could do that for the Hype Squad. You could do it for any of your projects. Just kind of, and I think the whole idea is they're very open about everything they're doing. They're sharing, and I think that's what we need in this space for all the projects. So if you haven't seen all the apes all over Twitter, which is somehow I feel like impossible, check it out though. My last kind of thing I wanted to talk about, I call it Sneaker Dad's 6, we'll call it, but basically I want to highlight, there's so many artists in the Hype Squad, outside of the Hype Squad. So I figured, each week what I would like to do is share, a few from each, the Hype Squad and outside of the space. So I just kind of went through. Don't take offense if I didn't pick you this week. I will try and highlight everybody. I just kind of what stuck out to me this week. And so the first person that I want to highlight, and I'll share the links to on so we can throw it in Twitch. Apologies. So this is the first one, Nakamushi. Did I say that right? And I apologize if I mess up any names. Do not take offense. I apologize, but Nakamushi, I thought put out a really cool project and a really cool piece of art from this a week ago. I don't know if it's. Am I sharing it right now? Yeah, there it is. Okay, this one right here. It's on Foundation. It's called "It Won't Work," and I don't know. I'm really into to trippy stuff, but I thought it was just super cool. A lot of stuff going on there. It just catches your eye again. I guess, well, pun intended, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was just super neat, super different, and very vibrant to me. And yeah, that was somebody, and Nakamushi is part of the Hype Squad, so definitely check out their work. The next person from the Hype Squad I wanted to mention was Zach Wilkinson. Zach does a lot of 3D characters and 3D art, and I think he also does like motion, like 3D and motion, wow, I can't talk right now, but he animates all of this stuff. And I don't know, this kind of reminded me a little bit of Gumby. I don't know what it was. Here, I'll share the link for this one too. Sorry guys, I'm still getting used to this whole sharing thing, but Zach, I love this. Reminded me of like just the claymation, reminded me a little bit of just like Gumby, Robot Chicken, and some other things. I don't know. I think it's really cool. And it's just unique, different. Everyone's art's unique and different. I don't want to take it like that. This was, when I saw it for the first time, I was like, holy crap, I've never seen anything like this before. Kind of gave me some nostalgia from when I was a kid. But very cool. And I imagine Zach's probably going to be doing a lot more than just this, just based on what his expertise are.
One more thing to say, the top one on the left has like all the characters combined. If you purchase all 30 of them, you get that one.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to be looking into that.
His stuff's really
I own 2 of them, but collecting more soon.
Yeah, he was cool. He's a community moderator, and he was on the Ken Bozak stream with us. And largely inspired by his kids and like getting back to childhood like play and stuff. So I'm stoked you're spotlighting his work because it is just gorgeous and so lovely. Oh
yeah, I was honestly I have a 19-month-old daughter, and she was she thought she was trying to grab stuff, literally trying to
Yeah.
grab the screen and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool. And as Anna Faye said, it is super affordable and on Hen. So if you want his work, you don't have to like literally give your arm away or your leg. Like you know, it's affordable. And then last and certainly not least from the Hype Squad, I wanted to mention Anna Faye. I'm sorry, Calico. Sorry, I'm looking at NFA's name, but talking about Calico, which is Ducks and Leaks. We had kind of mentioned her earlier. I thought this piece right here. I'm gonna try. I can't zoom in on it, but or maybe I can. But it's called Inner Demons. Beautiful piece. And honestly, yeah, I mean, it's just so detailed. I don't know what it was. I just think it's super pretty. So I just am a huge fan of it. It kind of just stuck out to me yesterday as it kind of was the first thing that popped up as if it was curated. It like, you know, Twitter knew that I wanted to see this. So I think it's really cool. And it's on Foundation. I'll share the link as well.
An auction as well. Like I kicked it off last night. So
you good man.
It's such a dope piece. I got outbid instantly almost, but yeah, holy shit, that's good.
Yeah, like there's like
Stunning.
I mean, just even when you're just looking at all the tree branches and stuff like that, it's just so detailed. And then the flower, I don't know, it's so cool. Check out her work. I mean, this isn't the only one. It was just the top one, and I was amazed by it. So you can still place a bid, and also just check out some of her other work as well. So those were the three from the Hype Squad, and then I had a couple that I wanted to share as well. Non-Hype Squad people just thought was really cool and different work. The first that I'll get into, oddly enough, so not without doxing myself, I don't care. You could come hang with me. I live in Chicago. So I did want to share. We're live. Okay. So yeah, I was mentioning how they were featured in Forbes recently. What I thought and what I think is really cool about what Sophie does is she does a lot of writing on Medium, and it's about, you know, just understanding your work, artist worth, and kind of she gives a lot of tips and about just, you know, the fact that you may or may not be a very like well-known relative to maybe some of the other artists in this space. And she does a lot of really good write-ups about just why you shouldn't like lower your prices and how you should, you know, derive what your value is and different, you know, different tips. And I mean, just from a collector's perspective, I thought it was kind of interesting to kind of just hear how her brain was kind of working and ticking. And she does a lot of stuff on Medium. And yes, welcome back, everybody. If you are still with us.
Apologies for the technical difficulties again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just as an example, this was like Sophie's an artist's personal consultation. Start with the self-audit. Begin with the end in mind. Like all these things, like, and she does these all the time. 10 daily reminders to refer back to. I just think, you know, offering all these kinds of tips at no charge is super awesome. And I mean, her art is super awesome too. No, not to discount that. But anyways, she's based out of the Chicago area, so I thought it was cool to mention her. The next one, his name is Gabe Weiss. A little bit more of a popular gentleman, at least on Instagram is where I originally found him. But yeah, I got a lot of Picasso vibes, and I just thought it was... Sorry, my computer's a little slow today. I thought it was really cool. Just something a little different. I don't know. It just spoke to me. His name is Gabriel J. Weiss. But yeah, I thought his work was super neat. I don't really have much to say about that one. It was very different. I was getting a lot of like Picasso vibes on this, with the faces and yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I'll botch whatever I'm going to say next, so I'll just go to the next one. And the last but not least, his name is Freddie, but he goes by Supa. I don't know if anyone else has heard of him before, but I really hadn't heard about him up until a couple weeks ago, but I'll share it. But can you hear this? Is that coming through? Thought it was kind of cool though, just a mix of different mediums right there. Whether it's apparently now that I'm looking at it, he's done stuff with. He's from Chicago too. I should mention. He has done stuff with Chance the Rapper. Did not realize that, but just thought I've seeing music and art. It is art, but seeing music and visuals together, I think is super cool and different. So I just wanted to share that just as creative, let the creative juices flow and maybe some inspiration to you guys as well, but just something different that I'm really not seeing as much. So yeah, I mean, that's my 6 for this week. And I will definitely be sharing a lot more, but definitely make sure to enter whatever auctions that I had mentioned before, whether it's Calico or even just going on Hen for Zach. Definitely let's support them.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Some really cool choices there. I was following one of those people. I think I'll definitely give the others a follow. Great artists.
Yeah.
That you just now.
They're cool, right? I mean, I don't know. There's so many more. Trust me, I've got so many more that from the group and non-group. I mean, that's what's cool about this. We're so in the beginning stages of this all, and I mean, there's so many opportunities just connect and even collab with other people, right? Like, hopefully, more and more people join the Hype Squad, and we can do a lot more. But yeah, I just thought it was cool to share. So hopefully, you guys like that.
Thank you for sharing. On to our last segment, I think, and that was Insights with Tori.
Sorry? Oh, sorry, I've turned.
Oh, the last segment of yours before we wrap it up.
Oh, you're not doing a bit?
No, I said we have a last segment with you.
Oh, okay. No,
you had a segment.
Yeah. I thought you did as well. I thought you were going next. Sorry. I'm half asleep now. It's nearly 4 a.m. I wanted to talk about agreements and things. I've gone into collaborations, and I know other people in the community have done so as well, where the agreements have all been in voice chat. And just a friendly reminder this week to get all agreements in writing. Some of the larger projects all have, legal teams and proper contracts and things that you'll fill out, so that you know what you're getting into and what your cut is going to be. But for one-on-one, because most collaborations are just with you and one other person, just get the agreement in writing. It doesn't have to be a formal contract. Just make sure a lot of my stuff is over messaging and things like that. So just make sure you do that in addition to any voice agreements. So something me and Terry were sort of talking about earlier with the secondary sales thing is we're looking for sort of community input as to how we might go about sort of putting on a show that is specifically for selling on artwork that you've maybe collected, like having a sort of secondhand market. I like to think of it as a flea market, but I know some people might not like that because they think it means super cheap. It doesn't have to be super cheap. I thought we'd probably break things up into categories. Like, there might be some stuff that's under 0.05, sorry. And then some things that are at the higher end, like if I'm flipping my crypto palm, I'm going to want 0.7 for it. And then we can, whether we put that into a virtual gallery or we just have a sort of a string of links on the website, sort of how we might go about that. So ideas are welcome if anybody has any input on that little project. Also hoping to start with giveaways next week. I have some little bits and pieces I'd like to do as giveaways for people who are watching the stream. But if anybody also had pieces that they'd like to donate, or maybe, you know, give away to other viewers, let us know. And what else did I have? I had some Monster Mash we've covered. The
You wanted to do a raw
thing.
exhibition. You want to talk about that, right?
Yeah, I did want to ask you about that. I'm just trying to remember whether I've got my links open. There was a really cool announcement from Paris, but I don't think I'll cover that now. I think I'm too tired. Oh, and also I want to have conversation about sort of copyrights and things. So if anybody is aware of any artists who are doing something like, I forget what the creator's name is, from Ugly Dolls, you know, the maybe I will try and share this screen now. Sorry, I haven't done this before, so hopefully this works. Window, or let's just do entire screen share. So the creator of Ugly Dolls, are you seeing this OpenSea page?
Yeah.
Has created a collection called UMA No Copyright. So this is a series of NFTs that they sold, and have basically, if I can find the description, are characters that people are welcome to use in their own work, and, you know, create any sort of artworks with these characters included, because they've stated here that basically nobody can own the rights to these characters. This is no copyright, which was something I'd never seen before. I'm really interested in finding out if more people are doing this sort of thing. So if anybody is aware of anything like this happening, please let me know. There is also, if I've got the right open, the only other artist I knew of doing this is Hawkwood, who created this Flamingo character, which is a flamingo crossed with an elephant. And they've, again, basically said that this character is open source. Please use it however you'd like. And as a result of that, a whole lot have made their interpretations of the Flamingo, which I think is really cool. And yeah, again, it's kind of the opposite of you know, what some of the other artists do in the space. I quite like doing fan art and and collaborating with people and things, and sort of 80% of artists will say, yeah, please do, and I'd love to see the result of it. And 20% of artists will say, no, you're devaluing my work by doing your interpretation of it. So I think that's a really interesting conversation, and something I hope to have a guest on for, and a discussion specifically on, yeah, how do we all feel in the squad about sort of the lines, you know, of inspiration or plagiarism, or, you know, fair use and copyright, and what do we think of these projects that just blatantly say, hey, use my work, it's open source, or it's no copyright. I thought would be something really cool to talk about.
That's a very interesting aspect, most definitely. I personally prefer the way sort of like the Board A Job Club does it, with if you own a character, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it, sort of. Sorry, language.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I didn't know that. That's an approach, a different approach again. That's really cool.
Yeah, because that adds value to the ape that's already like in your wallet as well, that you own. So you would be adding value and story to that ape that you collected. I really like that aspect of it.
And you've done just that with your Silk Robe board ape that you own.
Yeah, I'm making a 3D rendition of it. Still not
Yeah.
finished, but almost.
Yeah, awesome. And yes, I wanted to know how the show went with you and CryptoPolm were involved in was it Stella Bell? Stella
Yeah,
Bell's
Stella
show, Raw?
Bella's Raw show. It was on the 16th of May. It was a ton of fun. The artists that were featured were I don't know how to pronounce this. I always botch that name. Seg. I'll just throw the links to the artists in the chat. Yeah, that's maybe better. Oh wait, I can just. This is easier. Look here. But yeah, there was an art show based on a certain theme, an exhibition about the theme Raw. I made an art piece for that, and Paul made an art piece for that, and we were sort of in the same theme. We're all showcased within Crypto Voxels, so that was my first art exhibition, sort of, as well. But then in 30D space in Crypto Voxels with a murder mystery that could be solved, a lot of engagement of other people, and it was just a all around a sort of party and celebration of different artworks in a specific style, and it all fit together, sort of. So yeah, that was very lovely to be part of and to visit that and to be a part of that. Yeah.
Great. And was that something you guys were invited to specifically, or was it open application for artists? How did you get?
I was invited because of my art style sort of fits that more of an emotional theme, because I do a lot of things about phobias and horror and creepy things in general. Right. And awesome. They resonated with that and was like, yeah, we would love to have you with that as well. Nice. So it was really an amazing opportunity. I'm really bad at describing things, sorry.
No, it's all good. It was fine. That was good. No, you answered my questions perfectly. Yeah, that's all I had for my segment, so go ahead.
Yeah, I think this was our second NFT Hype Squad podcast. In case you ever want to get in touch with the NFT Hype Squad, you can always feel free to DM me. That's ArtByT3D on Twitter, or any one of us else here, Sneakerdat, Tori. But I would recommend contacting me, Palm, first, because we also do have a sort of a vetting sequence. Like our Discord isn't open currently for everyone. We're doing invite-based only. So, but if you're a cool person and friendly and just have a conversation with me, or Palm will most likely just invite you.
Good vibes only, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you can go to the Hype Squad Twitter and at NFT Hype Squad if for whatever reason Terry and Palm are inundated because they're super popular people, you can always do that. And I think they manage that as well. So, but I would definitely encourage reaching out to one of those two. Not to say don't reach out to me. I'm just saying, definitely reach out to them. They definitely will be able to set everything up. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining today. I hope this was insightful for everybody, and I learned a ton. And looking forward to the next one.
Same.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the
thank you guys very much.
Less technical difficulties, but it's been a pleasure. Everyone, thank you for having us and staying with us even despite the technical problems.
And last reminder, in case it was cut out during the technical problems, is NFA is running a awesome blog for the Hype Squad on Peaked, I believe it's called. It's on the Hive chain. Yeah, Hive basically. So just for engaging with the blog and from what I can tell, reblogging and voting and things, the Hype Squad blog can earn Hive, and that's all going to go into a fund to help artists get onboarded onto NFT Showroom. So thank you so much, NFA, for setting that up and running that for the squad. And she's also looking for anybody who wants to help contribute to that blog. You're welcome to get in touch with her. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you all so much for turning out. Great turnout in the chat. I love watching you guys.
And thank you all for wrapping the crows as well.
Yeah, I think we need less crows, but that's fine.
More crypto.
Well, I hope everyone has a good rest of the day or
Yeah.
night or early morning.
Or sleep.
4
I'm gonna say
a.m.
I'm gonna go
Go
watch some
get it.
basketball.
Enjoy.
But love you all, and I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you,
Likewise.
guys.
Have a good one, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. And see you all on the third podcast of NFT Hype Squad. Goodbye.
See you then.